Sorry to keep you waiting.
No, you're good at that.
Hey, floss more today.
Oh, sweet,
I,
sweet,
I
sweet.
I don't ever remember having played there. I don't normally play elitist golf, but I hear it's good, and I'm looking forward to it.
Never been there before. Matter of fact, I drove. We went to Aurelio's over there in Homewood last weekend,
If
and
you're going
I
to Aurelio's, go to that one, by the way. But anyways,
oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
But yeah, I drove by it. It from the outside, it looks like a nice place. It's amazing how uh there's some beautiful homes out there, ain't there?
I
Man, there
I
is some
I don't
nice ones.
know. I don't know. I don't
Oh,
think I've ever played it, and I just heard that the greens are really fast. Hey, I hit
yeah.
balls yesterday at Aberdeen. I haven't been there in 15 years. What a
Yep.
they built a massive apartment complex right by it. I'm like, God, I'd live there. But
No kidding, huh?
it's beautiful out there, man. It's just a different feel. But what's on your
Yeah.
mind?
So yeah, the thing yesterday, what gets me, this is a lot more than say Jed growing his hair out long, putting some pigtails in, and saying your name's Jess. These doctors are giving these people these medications that basically here. I'll just give you one little example. You could take a 17-year-old girl, and these doctors will give them this stuff that girl in 6 months will grow a beard and change her voice and basically just transform them. And Congress Congress is constantly bitching about gain of function research over with these viruses over in Wuhan, but they let these doctors play God with these kids. I think it's hypocritical, and I think it's a bunch of bull.
The Minneapolis community gathered at multiple vigils last night to mourn the young lives lost in the latest act of gun violence in the U.S. to target school children, showing support for each other as they navigate a path forward and press for change. You don't think it's going to happen in your community, said Kaylee Poling, who attended Annunciation Catholic School, or the tragedy, and now being a parent, I just can't imagine what those kids went through this morning. The narrative is about the transgender. Should there also be a narrative about guns in America?
I got plenty of guns. I don't go out and shoot up a damn school.
I know that, but there are people that do. So
yeah, this ain't about guns. This is like some psycho ramming his car into a crowd of people. This isn't about guns. This is about I hope Trump signs an executive order today. I hope he cuts off all funding for any medical institution that participates in this crap. It's playing God, and it's bull.
So, following up with what the last caller said, he said that if you're transgender, you should kind of live in your own colony. How do you feel about that?
It should have never started to begin with.
What do you mean by that?
What do I mean by that? Well, was this going on when you were in school? When you were in high school?
You mean we're like, say, a man all of a sudden wanting to be a woman and dressing and coming to school like that? No, it would not have been allowed. I mean, especially in I went to a Catholic grade school, so that would not have been allowed. Certainly, it would have been not allowed at Munster High School, or really looked down upon. But what if someone's born with men's stuff and they really do feel as if inside they're a woman? What are you supposed to do with that?
Well, I think this started somewhere at some point in time. I don't know, what was it, 5 years ago or something maybe. And I know they've been doing drag queen shows forever, but that was like more of an entertainment deal. No, this started somewhere, and then these doctors got involved with it, and it's turned into a seven-headed monster is what it's done. And these parents, I don't know if it's just weak parenting, they go along with it. We're living in crazy town here.
Democratic leaders call for stronger gun control.
As they all walk around with armed security. I mean, come on. You know, nah, it ain't the guns. It ain't a car. It ain't the knives. You let something get out of control here is what it's just my humble opinion. And you could have yours too, but
I don't have one, but I'm asking yours. So I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Talk to you. Hey, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Speaking of Aurelios, the Chicago Pope liked to eat pizza at Aurelios in Homewood, Illinois.
Yes,
the
original one, and I think they sent him a pizza or something, or recently they got a frozen pizza to him, and he came out yesterday with a statement after the shooting, and he said, "Hey." The Vatican, in a statement, said Pope Leo the 14th was, quote, profoundly saddened by the deaths and injuries from the mass shooting. I wonder what his response is going to be.
All I know is my response, and this latest trans shooting in Minnesota illustrates that the Democrat Party is the happy home of the killer class, whether it be street criminals in Gary and Chicago, whether it be abortion on demand with baby killing willy-nilly. There's a fly jumps on the lady's nose. That's a sufficient reason to kill the baby. I could go on, and go back to 2020 and Black Lives Matter. 20 people killed, and the media talked about it like it was a largely peaceful operation. Why is that?
What do you happy home of the killer class? Explain that.
Right. Well, I just explained it.
I mean,
where is the worst violent crime in this country? In cities dominated by who? Democrats. Top to bottom.
That is so not true.
Of course it is true.
No, it is not. As a matter of fact,
how many murders does Munster have, which has been Republican dominated since before Lake County became Democrat dominated? How many murders have happened in Republican dominated Munster?
It's odd that you say that, because I was I was trying to get a bead on the stats, because I think what's happening right now is that I forget the person in Trump's administration is saying we're going to go after Democratic cities, and then the sociologist in me is like, well, is the violence worse in Democratic in blue state cities versus red state cities? And then at a cursory look at it, I was like, I don't think that's true. And
let's look at the cities.
No, but I mean,
you're distracting your attention. You're moving away from talking about cities, specifically cities dominate. Illinois is, in quotes, a blue state, but does the rest of Illinois have the level of violence that you have in Chicago?
No, I mean that is definitely a case, but is it always the case? You know what I mean?
What do you mean always?
The red versus blue crime debate is something that is, it's not definitive that there's more murders in Democratic states versus Republican states.
Let's focus on cities like Minneapolis and Chicago and Gary. That you clearly don't want to talk about that.
No, that we talk about it all the time.
To talk about
I'm fine talking about violence in Chicago or in Gary or whatever. But I'm just saying, does the science and the data bear out that it's more dangerous in Democratic cities? I know that's the narrative.
How about the D.C.?
The debate is big.
How about
okay, but anyways, we're not going to settle that. But the data is very close in both. Like, say, if you went to Houston versus going to Chicago, and the murder rate per thousand, and As a matter of fact, in some studies, it's higher and more violent in red state cities. And so that's how it is. Around here, yes, it's more violent in Chicago than it is in Republican held Munster. I get that. But across America, is that true? I don't know if you can make that blanket statement. But anyways, why is that funny?
Well, I'm
Why is that
laughing
funny?
at the way you're trying to evade dealing
I'm
with
not
the
evading
obvious.
it. I'm like,
Of course you are. Of course you are.
there's definitely violence in democratic cities, and I get that. But
Out of
you're
control
evading
violence.
the actual data does not bear out that it's more violent in a democratic city versus a Republican city. As a matter of fact, the data shows that it's a little bit more violent in a red state city. So that still is part of the.
To talk of states
that's
is
not
ridiculous
funny.
because
That's not funny because there's violence.
Illinois is a blue state, but where is most of the crime? In places like Chicago. I mean, duh.
All right, whatever. This
It's
isn't going to
Peoria.
land. I mean, it sounds like you have relinquished your college professor looking at things, and you really have migrated.
No,
You have
I look at the
migrated
facts.
big time because when we would talk 15 years ago, it would be like, well, that might not be true. People might think this, but the data might bear it out this way. Now you don't want to hear the data. So I think
decided to
no. Hold on a
compare
second.
Munster
Let me finish.
with Gary.
Yeah, Munster versus Gary. I get it. That is a very
Well, you don't like
easy
to hear
story.
that.
No, I'm not saying I don't want to say it. Go
South
say
County,
what.
South Lake County versus North Lake County.
Okay,
Is there
go
a
ahead and
difference
talk
in
about it.
The violent crime.
Yeah, it's more violent crime in Gary than there is in South County.
North Lake.
Okay, North Lake. Then
North
what?
Lake is much more violent than South Lake. Why do you think people have moved to South Lake?
That's a
over the
different
years?
issue, Walton. You know it. The issue of telling the story that it's more violent in democratic cities and blue states than in cities and red states is not backed up by the data, and so that is part of the discussion. And 15 years ago, you would have wanted that to be part of the discussion. So I think that you are a good example of people that have turned from looking at all sides of an issue and looking at the empirical data to just wanting to focus on a narrative. I'm not faulting you for it. I'm just saying that there are a lot of people on both sides. I mean, how many people listening right now, it doesn't matter what President Trump does. It's going to be evil. Doesn't matter, even if it's good. I mean,
in the 20 years I've been calling, I don't call in as much as I used to, but there was a time when I called in on a regular basis, basically to help keep the WJOB operating as a news talk operation. Tell the truth about what's going on, and of course the Democrats go crazy with that. But in 20 years since I have been calling, and you and your wife own WJOB, the Democrats have gone crazier and crazier and crazier, and this is the latest example of it. Not only are the Democrats oriented toward the happy home of the killer class, they're anti-Christian and specifically anti-Catholic. What has happened to violence against Catholic churches, Christian churches in general, but especially the Catholic churches, since the federal Supreme Court rule turned the abortion issue back to the states? There's been a dramatic increase in attacks on Catholic churches across the country.
Well, Walt, I agree with part of that, and that is that the Democratic Party, the Democratic leaders that have become the party of the elitists, we talked about it years ago, certainly when I nearly got canceled from some sort of like mob, and I was, and it was, I'm like, this is wrong. It's all wrong. And it culminated in just people being very angry at the class and the restrictions that were being placed on people to have a reasonable opinion, and the Democratic Party doesn't know what to do. Honestly, they've got a lot to criticize right now, but they just don't have an alternative. And I agree with you.
How about
They
Chuck
don't have
Schumer,
any
the leader
alternative.
of the Democrats? He stood on the steps of the federal Supreme Court and threatened the life of by name of two judges on the Supreme Court who voted to return the abortion issue to the states, which was a constitutional move. Show me a Republican has done that.
Hey, I love when you get excited. You know that? I just love it. I got to go, man. I'm catching up. Hey, by the way, I just looked at my calendar. Is the congressman here already? I don't know. I've got Frank Mervan coming on here in a little bit.
Is he taking calls?
I'm sure you'll love that. All right, man. Thanks a lot. Hold on. Is he here already? No, there's a bunch of people here. I don't know who they are. Let's just take some calls. They're all talking out there. I'll just talk to you. Hey, what's happening?
What's the old guy that just called? Walter?
Yeah. What do you mean, old guy? Can't he just be a guy? Why's he got to be an old guy?
At least we know he's a guy, and he identifies as a guy, and he realizes what he was born as. He is a guy. But he took you to school again, Jim.
Oh,
again.
You think Walt taking me to school is something new?
Yes.
It's not.
Yeah, he takes you to school. Whenever I could listen to Walt laugh at you all day long. I love that. It's so
Walt
soothing.
missed part of his calling in that, whether you agree with him or not, and there's people that just, they got to turn it off when he's on. But he is very articulate on what he feels. I think it's more passion now than it is science and rationality, but it's still good. But anyways, go ahead. What's on your mind?
And it's his delivery and his demeanor. Not like he indicates the Democrats losing their minds.
What is going on with the Democrats? What is?
McDermott,
go ahead.
McDermott is a perfect example of that. Openly admitted he's going to see a psychiatrist. Let me ask you this:
It's not what he said. He said he was in therapy. There's a big difference.
If Paulie Walnuts found out that Tony Soprano was going to see a shrink, what do you think would have happened?
Gosh, what an example. Paulie Walnuts.
Are you kidding me? you got your Mayor Hammond is losing his mind because of the national politics, and he admits to going to see a shrink. Walter hit the nail right on the head again. The Democrats are losing their minds. And as it relates to the gay situation, Jimmy, if I'm a gay guy, I'm a little bit offended that you're lumping me into the same bucket with the Transformers. I have no right telling somebody who they can love and who they have affection for. But I can tell you, when you're born and the doctor puts you on that woman's breasts and you got an innie or an outie, there's no denying that. So for you to lump the Transformers in with the gays, I want to hear your resident gay guy's opinion on this, Mont Hanley. I wish he would call in on this whole situation.
What is that? What upsets you the most out of this shooting in Minnesota?
How the Democrats make excuses for every segment of society that are willing to vote for them. They pander to a segment of society, the Transformers, that make up less than 0.5% of the voting rolls, and they're willing to pander to these people. I've yet to hear one of the major media sources mention that this guy was a Transformer. And you keep referring to him as a woman. He's not a woman. The guy is a guy.
I'm just reading it here. Hold on a second. Here's what I'm reading.
It's just like when.
It is Robin Westman, who used to be known as Robert Westman. So I don't know what to.
A guy.
I don't know.
He's a guy, and it's just like when Frank Mervan wouldn't refer to illegal aliens as what they are, illegal aliens.
So here's the best part. You're going to hear Frank Mervan in just a few minutes. Thanks a lot. Hey, you're on the air. How are you?
Good morning.
Knock. Who's there?
Professor Walt was exactly right, and he brought up a point that I had not thought about in a while, and that's BLM in Minnesota. And do you realize that that governor could have been our next vice president?
Who are you talking about?
Governor Walz.
Oh, yeah, he's in the news right now with the shootings happening in his state. He's all over the place.
And if you think about it, and if you check on things, they asked Governor Walz for more protection at those schools after Nashville had their shooting, and he denied that. Can you imagine the state the country would be in if he had become our next vice president?
Well, what state is the country in?
It's getting better.
In what way?
Let me finish this. Rape is wrong. No doubt about it. But Connie Karras says she represents the veterans and yet holds up a sign that says FDT. Basically fornicate our current president. Okay? The same president.
I'm getting told by Adriana I gotta cut this short. So here's the thing.
Don't sidestep this, Jed.
I'm not sidestepping anything. I'm the marionette here. Listen, here's the deal. In terms of Connie, there are real issues in our military that people face in terms of, going in as a woman, going in or turning transgender during your time in the military. These are issues that people face, and they're very difficult to talk about. But certainly, Connie Karras has a right to her free speech. The podcast she's doing, that is outside of her. That's outside of her. Hold on, I'm not done. That's outside of.
I'm not done either. She said, screw the president that has closed the borders and prevented rapists and murderers from coming into our country.
That's a different issue.
But wants to line
she can
herself
say
with the
that.
Democrats.
She is open to say that, and she's got a podcast where it's separate from her affiliation with any organization. But anyways, so what do you think is the main issue with this shooting of 17 kids in Annunciado Church in Minneapolis? Is it the guns?
It's exactly what Walt was telling you.
Okay.
Don't let the Democrats influence our country and our children. And you tried to sidestep that. You are the greatest athlete in the history of Munster Side School with that footwork, because you sidestep these issues. So you're saying screw the president who has closed the borders to prevent these rapists and murderers from coming in, yet you support our veterans, Connie Karras. Decide what side of the fence you're going to be on, because that concertina wire is going to cut up your arse so bad.
All right, man. Thanks for the phone call, I think. And I am being told what to do by Adriana Alvarez and Joe Cimino, former quarterback at Andrean. He will be hosting the game day type celebration in front of the game at Andrean on Saturday. He'll be up there. There'll be some other people. The Carpenters are building us this little stage. I don't know if they're going to have it done, but the following week we'll be at Griffith with the kickoff show. Stay where you're at. I'll be right back on The Voice and Face.